Hi, my name is Leanne, and today I'm doing a side dish that I have called One Potato Two Potato. It is scalloped potatoes using Yukon Gold potatoes and sweet potatoes with a creamy Philadelphia cream cheese sauce, infused with fresh rosemary and chives. So the first thing that I did was I sliced both types of potatoes. I have my sweet potato and my Yukon Gold potato, about 1/4 inch thick, and I've set those aside. Then I wanted to make my cream cheese sauce. So basically I've made a roux, and a roux is when you take flour and butter and you whisk it so that it forms a paste, and then I have chosen to add chicken stock, low sodium chicken stock, instead of milk, and I've whisked it until it is a smooth consistency, and then I'm going to add in the Philadelphia cream cheese. So you just want to get this cream cheese into the mixture. And then you want to give it a good whisk until it forms a very smooth consistency. And then I will add some fresh herbs and some spices to it. Now you don't want your heat to be too high because it can burn because it has the flour and the butter in there. So it's a really nice creamy consistency, and the only way to accomplish that really is with Philadelphia cream cheese. If you find that your mixture is a little bit too thick, you can certainly add just a couple tablespoons of water, which I will just add a couple drops just to thin it out. And it's really nice and smooth. You can actually see that it's forming a ribbon. Nice smooth consistency. So I will just start adding my spices to this. Just a tiny bit of salt, because I'm going to top the scalloped potatoes at the very end with some pancetta, which I've fried in olive oil so that it's super crispy, and I've glazed it with some Canadian maple syrup. So pancetta is very salty. It's Italian bacon, so you don't want to put too much salt in your dish. I have some red chili pepper flakes. I'm from Jamaica. I like things seasoned really well, and I like things that are spicy. I have some herbes du Provence here, some dried herbes du Provence. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. I really like cumin as a spice. It's warm and earthy, and it has this smoky flavor to it. And I have chopped fresh rosemary and fresh chives, and so I'll just add that in there. And I personally think that any cream mixture, nutmeg goes really well with it. So I'm going to grate some fresh nutmeg right into the sauce, and it just gives it this really pleasant flavor. And again, I'm just going to give this a really nice whisk, and I can actually remove this from the heat because it is completely smooth, creamy. You can see the chives and the rosemary in there and all the spices, and it's just a lovely consistency. So I'll take that off the heat, and I'll start to assemble my scalloped potatoes. So over here I have a baking dish. It's not too deep, and I've taken a piece of paper towel with some butter, and I have greased it so that your scalloped potatoes don't stick. So the first thing that I would like to do is I'm actually just going to layer in my sweet potatoes. There's really no method to doing this. This is a really fun activity if you have kids in the kitchen with you, or you're cooking and you want to keep them busy. You can have them layering it. I actually slice my potatoes with a mandolin, which is just a kitchen gadget that gives it a nice even slice, but you can use a sharp knife as well. So I've done one layer of sweet potatoes, and now I want to come in and alternate with Yukon Gold potatoes. And do the same thing. You just want to layer them in. So once I've done that, I'm just going to add some fresh cracked black pepper. and just a pinch of salt. As I said before, the pancetta is quite salty. You can certainly leave the pancetta off of this if you're a vegetarian or you just want to have a garnish that doesn't involve any kind of meat. And if that were the case, I would then just add a little bit more salt. But I'm going to have something salty on the top, so I'm taking it easy with the salt. So at this point that I have the two types of potatoes layered in here, I'm just going to grab my ladle and we'll start putting in the creamy sauce. So as you can see, the Philadelphia cream cheese has made this sauce have such a velvety, smooth texture, and you just want to ladle that right over your potatoes. This sauce, by the way, will go really great with vegetables. So if you have kids that don't like to eat green vegetables and they're kind of finicky, serve this with cauliflower or broccoli and they'll love it. So again, I'm going to come in with another layer of my potatoes. Sweet potatoes. And I really like the color of sweet potatoes. It just makes the dish look very interesting and it adds a very sweet texture and sweet flavor to this dish, along with the Yukon Gold potatoes. And finally, my last layer of Yukon Gold. I like Yukon Gold potatoes because they're not too starchy and they're not quite a baking potato, so they're just a good all-round potato for this dish. So there you have it. All the layers are put in. A little bit more fresh cracked black pepper goes on top. And I will finish off with my remaining sauce. And you're going to put this in the oven for about 40 minutes. My potatoes are sliced thinly, which is good because it will take less time to cook. And I'm going to cover this with foil so that the potatoes will essentially steam in the oven, in the casserole dish. And once they're kind of tender, I tend to like my vegetables al dente, so they have a little bit of a bite to them, they're not mushy. Then you would take it out, uncover it, and just brown the top. And I actually use some Kraft shredded cheddar and mozzarella cheese just to put on top, just to top it off so that it's nice and golden brown, and the Philadelphia cream cheese sauce gets bubbly and golden and it just tastes really good. So I'm going to cover it with foil. And I'm going to pop this into an oven at 400 degrees for about 40 minutes. Have one that's in the oven and it's just finished. And it's really hot and bubbling. I wish you could smell this. It smells really good. You can actually smell the cream cheese and the nutmeg. So that would be what the finished product actually looks like. I'll just put it here so that you can see. And I'm going to chop some fresh herbs and put it on top just to finish it off. So what I like to do is when I go to the grocery store, I like to wash my fresh herbs so that when I'm ready to cook with them, I can just pick them and go. So I have some fresh chives. And I think that chives and dill and rosemary go really well with potatoes, so I have some dill that I'll just use as a garnish. So you just want to chop the herbs, give it a nice fine chop. Now ideally you would wait for this to rest just for a few minutes until the sauce can sort of thicken up as it gets cool, but I really want to plate this to show you what it's going to look like. So I'll get my spoon and a plate, and you just want to dig in here really and get some of this on your plate. You want to top it off with some fresh chives. I'm going to grab my maple glazed pancetta. Put some of that on top with a little bit of dill. So that is my Philadelphia cream cheese scallop potatoes with sweet potatoes and Yukon Gold potatoes, and honestly, this is happiness on a plate. You honestly can't get any better than this. I don't know anybody who wouldn't like this, and Philadelphia cream cheese just adds a velvety, creamy texture to my cheese sauce. Hope you enjoy my recipe.